Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. Alright, so this is Draft Day, College Basketball 2017, and we are the Olympic Decathlon Rings. This is week number 9 of the competition, and we are heading into season number 4. Now, if you haven't seen any episodes of this series prior to this, this is a reimagining of the NCAA. Instead of the traditional setup, we have a promotion relegation system. And we've been promoted finally. So we started in the bottom tier, Conference V, which is the 23rd of 23 conferences. And at the end of our third season, we won the regular season title with an overall 18-11 record. We even made the CIT tournament, the lowest tiered tournament of the postseason tournaments. However, we lost in the first round, and we actually lost in our conference tournament, but big improvement from the struggling start that we had. So you can see here our season recaps. We were 8-19 first year, almost to 500 in our second year, 18 wins this last year, and we even managed to get one of our very first recruits, Ian Dawson, made the Conference V all-conference team and first team all-conference. Also, we had a huge achievement this last year in our recruiting class, and one of those came off camera between the last episode and this episode. So we had landed Clifton Jennings, Marcus Lowe, and Aki Collins. We also grabbed Reginald Neely, who is our shooting guard. So we had a recruit for all 5 positions, and all 5 of them were amazing, but our center that we recruited did not qualify and could not be given a scholarship. He had an SAT score below the minimum threshold for our school, which is a 960 score. He only had a 920, and I was able to still offer him afterward, and he gave us a verbal, but never did be able to sign with us. So with that in mind, in the future, if I ever have that happen again, I'm going to move on to somebody else. Thought it was worth a shot. So we ended up with 1 scholarship still on offer, which is transferring into this year. We will have 4 scholarships to hand out this coming season. Taking a look at the roster as it is now, we've definitely gotten younger. We only have a handful of seniors on the squad. And we are looking primarily at recruiting for this next year is going to come from the post players. We have our freshman Clifton Jennings, who came in. We have Billy Marshall, who was a walk-on at center. But otherwise, we have 3 seniors heading out: Morrissey, Overton, and Bennett. Overton is just a walk-on, so there's not going to be a scholarship available there. So we have 3 seniors that are leaving. That's 3 scholarships, plus the one that is vacant right now. So that's giving us 4 spots to fill. And looking at our ratings, we did pretty good with the incoming players and kind of where we're at overall. Kevin Cole is a 3-star player. Ian Dawson is now a 3-star player. Darren Brunson is 3 stars. Michael Morrissey, one of those seniors in the post, is 3 stars. And new recruit, Marcus Lowe, already 2.5 stars. Julian Marsh, 2.5 stars, recruit from last year. Reginald Neely, just coming in, 2 stars. Jamie Bennett is at 2 stars. So we have plenty of talent in this team, which is looking nice. Booker Grimes, who we've been pushing for a while to try to get him to his potential. We redshirted him, really worked with this kid looking at the potential that he had compared to what the team used to have. But now he's ineligible due to grades, though he might regain eligibility in December if he can get his grades up and still end up playing most of the season. New recruit Clifton Jennings is 1.5 stars. Mike Walter, one of our recruits from last year, was showing 0.5. He's coming along now, and at least showing some potential, though he's not really ready to play. Eki Collins is another one of our new recruits, and he's bounced back and forth. They were showing him earlier at 1.5 stars with some really good potential, I think 3.5 or 4 stars, but now sitting at just 0.5. So we'll see how that is recalculated eventually. Lytle and Overton are walk-on players, so they're not going to be able to contribute much. And then Billy Marshall is one of those seniors that's going to be outgoing. And so we'll be looking to bring in better talent with 2 of those 3 guys on their way out this year. So the team's looking pretty good. Not amazing, but certainly good. I've got 4 players with 3-star ratings. So as we go to head into this next year and these players start developing, I'm liking our chances. And speaking of chances, we are moving up. So if you did watch that last episode, I won the regular season title, but then I lost in the conference tournament. And I wasn't sure what the result of that would have been, whether I would have been promoted or not. And not only did I get promoted, but so did Abilene Christian. So it looks like the top 2 teams both got promoted. So we are now in Conference U, or the 22nd of the 23 conferences. So we've made it out of the cellar, and we are starting to work our way up. And I'm liking our chances for this year. It's definitely going to be a tougher conference than we had as we start moving our way up. But I think we might be able to jump a couple, 2 or 3 conferences in a row before we have to kind of hang out and rebuild for a while and improve prestige and so on before we can climb further. I think these conferences are close enough together that a good team can get themselves a little bit of a run and hopefully make 3 conferences in 3 years before kind of having to build again from there. At least that's the hope. That's the plan. All right, recruiting though is not looking so good for this year. It's still early for verbal commits. It's only September the 4th. They should start coming in fairly soon. However, in terms of interest is waning. I've had a difficult time. I've had a number of players come for visits, and the only ones that haven't come for visits at this point are unwilling. But of the players that have come for visits, most of them have left not very happy. So it's been a bit sad after the amazing recruiting class of last year, where I literally went out and grabbed a player from each and every position. Yes, I had the one who ended up not eligible, but all of them were top 500 players in the country after I had only the previous couple of years just barely grabbed 2 guys inside the top 1,000. So after the phenomenal recruiting class of last year, I'm seeing some struggles this season, even though my personal ability continues to improve. Taking a look at that, I am up to 51 when it comes to recruiting. My second assistant, Brent Mydra, whose staff role is to recruit, has a 63. So overall, we are far better at recruiting than we were. I started at a 30 for all stats. So you can see outside of scouting, I've seen some steady improvement in my personal skill on that, and it will definitely have an impact in the long term with this team. Quickly looking at info, our team goal is finally looking a little bit different than it has, and there's going to be some more pressure placed on us as this year, as our previous 3 seasons were to not finish in last. This year they want us to win the conference tournament, and we're at a higher conference. So that's not going to be the easiest task. Overall, the team that we replaced statistically, they have their existing record, and they had a single CBI tournament. The rest of this is now all us. So the previous team had never gained any championships of any kind, and that CIT tournament appearance was us. You can see here's the three main tournaments besides the March Madness NCAA tournament. So we have the NIT, the CBI, and the CIT, which are based on the real life major tournaments that are out there. All right, team prestige, though, is staying right where it was. We did get it to a 6 in Season 2, and then it was a 5 in Season 3, and still a 5 now, so it looks like we're going to have to do something substantial to eventually raise that prestige. Moving up to Conference 22 of 23 had no impact on our overall team prestige. Every year I've been trying to get the athletic director to improve the facilities, but so far I've been unsuccessful in that, so we remain at a D with these horrible facilities. It's going to take a bit before we can finally get that. Our budget remains the same. I haven't focused on that. You're only allowed to ask for one thing each year. I'm thinking about going after the budget here in the near future, especially as I'm paying my assistant coaches more than before, and that low starting budget, we really don't have a lot to work with. We've already used up $17,000 in recruiting costs, and there's only $23,000 left to go. And in terms of recruiting packages, just having a good scouting package for just the West Coast, as we're based in Portland, is $30,000, and we can't afford that right now. So the basic package for just our regional is $5,000. And so you can see beyond that, we've already spent $12,000 on top of that. And so it's only September. So we're definitely going to have issues when it comes to maintaining that budget. All right, so we're in the middle of recruiting. It is still the off season, and heading back over, I have 4 scholarships, and right now they're all out there. 2 of those guys I think we have a good chance of signing. The third one, maybe. He's coming around on us. Fourth one, somebody I really want to bring in, but I've gained interest from him a couple of times only to have it instantly disappear the next week. So it's pretty much looking like we're not going to be able to grab that player. But as we have a handful of scholarships to give out, staying after it for now. Our list has slowly whittled down to 16 players that are left. The majority of them are post players. I'm pretty uncaring whether it's power forwards or centers at this point, and really kind of going after either. And if I end up with 3 centers or 3 power forwards, I think I'm pretty content with that being the case if that ends up happening. I am going after a couple junior college transfers, so that I can get some guys that might be ready to step in next season and immediately step into a starting role, even though they might only be around for a couple years. But that should help us out, as next year might be a problem when I only have a single post player left on the roster. I do have a couple of small forwards that are big enough, and I'm really deep at small forward right now. I think I have 5 guys that can play at the power forward position, but I obviously will need somebody who can step in at least at center. Excuse me. So, take a look at these guys. In the overall category, Jones, the one who I'm going after, that isn't showing the interest, he's the only one who's showing up at a B, even though his ranking is quite a bit lower than some of these other guys. But that's been bouncing back and forth throughout the recruiting season. What I really, really like about this kid is strong defense and amazing rebounding. You look at his high school stats here, 15 a game, but he's grabbing almost 10 boards a game. I could really use that, as my team really struggles when it comes to grabbing boards. This last season, despite all the successes we had, I barely had one player getting 5 boards a game. That's weak. That's really weak. So I would love to get a good rebounder. However, one player who is very much into us, we're at the top of his list, and I might be transitioning to here in the near future, especially as the re-rankings have come out, and he has jumped a lot. He was outside of the top 1,000. He's now up to 550. This kid, Charles George, has a B for his rebounding, and a B for blocking, and a B for athleticism. So he's got some good stats. He's not a great scorer at a C, but he can pass. He can definitely play inside and outside. So outside of being a horrible free throw shooter and not being that good of a defender, this kid is pretty legit. So the moment I lift a scholarship off of any one of these guys, he's the next one on the list. And I've already been debating for a while whether to drop somebody, specifically Jones, to go after George while the getting's good. All right, so we have one non-post player that I have a scholarship offered to right now. We are currently second on his list, and location and academics are at the top of the charts for him. He has a very high ranking at 227, though his overall is not that great. But he can score, and definitely an outside shooter, but a lot of mediocre stats. So I think his ranking might slip as time goes on, because as I've scouted him, he actually doesn't look that great. But this kid, Preston Favors, is a shooting guard. I was looking for a guard, not a small forward, as we're really deep at small forward. So I was looking for one guard to pick up just to keep that rotation going. This is a kid that I would expect to probably redshirt next season if he did sign with us. But that'll add for depth for the future. All right, so I've already handled my commitments for this week, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on to our next week. And we should be getting to practices not too long from now. We're into the middle of September. All right, yeah, see, we're still not getting anywhere with Jones here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and watch film on the bottom tier guys. A lot of them I've barely given any time to. They're well outside of the top 1,000 in rankings. I've dropped a few guys based on some horrible stats, but I haven't gotten too deep into that. Like defense here, D Brown, he's an F on D. That's one thing that I will not stand for. I can barely handle guys that are Ds, but I want to have some good defensive players, especially as we are going to be and continue to be a team that runs a press, that runs some high pressure, that tries to force turnovers, and goes after those easy buckets on the break. And if you got a guy who can't defend, chances of that are not good. Not good at all. I don't mind a guy who's not really a scorer himself, as long as he's a good defender, which means like Walker here. There's almost no chance that I would go after Walker and offer him scholarship, and I might drop him here in the near future. Really, kind of the only thing that kept him on my list is that 4.0 GPA, where I know that I can trust that this kid would never amount to any kind of trouble. All right, we actually have a contact period now in this recruiting week. I have not had any visits at this point. This is the first chance that we have to go on visits, and this would be where we're going to start to see some various kids around the country start committing to schools after we are allowed full contact. All right, so I've already done my who I'm going to watch film on. The hosting recruits, the guys who aren't that haven't visited are in that. Let's see, if we try Ross here, they're declining the invitation. That's been pretty consistent across the board. Bad news here was Ross was up to 5th last week. He's dropped a spot to 6th on his list, so he's really not favoring us terribly well. And if he gets an offer from somewhere else, that could hurt us. Location is important for this kid, and unlike everybody else on the list, there's only a couple guys from outside the area, and he is one of them. He's coming from Hawaii. So if they're serious about location, there's really only one college out there that he'd be willing to go to based on his location. The academics being second best, but a pretty distant second, is something that can favor us a bit. All right, well, let's see. We have our handful of guys. Favors, I'd like to get him signed, especially with what he likes. So we'll go visit him. He is from Oregon. So he is a local kid, so we're going to use location, and we're going to go visit him this week. Fleming would be a nice signing, especially with that junior college transfer and a pretty high ranking. He is a scorer, so he can get us some points, though really not the greatest stats again, so it's a little shocking. I mean, you look at his stats here, at least he's grabbing nearly 7 boards a game at the junior college level, so there's something. Conference prestige is better than it was now that we moved up a spot, but facilities, we're still honestly sucking on both of these areas, so all we can really offer him is location and playing time. He is another Oregon kid, so we'll go ahead and pitch location. And if you haven't noticed from my previous episodes, location is about all I can pitch because, we're a weak school. We don't have much to offer. That's why this is a lower league manager series. All right. Again, George is one of those that I'm liking this kid more and more. I mean, he's got a pretty solid stat line here, even better than the guys above him. So kind of feel like I should be saving my time when it comes to Jones. I might give Jones like 2 more weeks and then drop that scholarship, drop him off our list, and move on to George, who is higher ranked at this point anyway. But that B, he's the only B overall. And, we did grab a couple kids last year that were Bs. All right, well, I want to pitch my guys that have offers out this week. So George will have to wait. Moore is another one. He was the highest ranked of everybody, but the re-rankings dropped him down a bit, so he's stayed on my list. I only have 2 guys left that aren't too interested in us. So let's see. I want to get Moss, and this will be a really important one for him to see if he'll jump up the list. I think it would be pretty nice if we grab both a power forward and a center junior college transfers who can both come in right away next year and give us a lot of minutes, along with Clifton Jennings, our current freshman, who will be a sophomore next year. Between the 3 of them, we should be able to get some decent minutes and somebody from a small forward to go in with them to make a 4th. All right, so with Ross, it's location again, but Hawaii. So I don't know if that's going to work too well. We might pitch academics instead. Go ahead and do that. And Jones, kind of our last chance on this kid. So we'll visit him, and if we don't have a positive visit out of this, and location's big, and we're Washington, so we're going to go ahead and pitch location. If we don't get a positive response from this, I might as well drop him last week. I mean, you look at all the recruiting notes recently, every single recruiting thing, other than the first couple of weeks, are very little interest. He doesn't want to come here, but, you nag, you prod enough, and maybe, just maybe, you're going to get your kid. But I think this is our last effort on him, and unless we see some interest coming out of him next week, he's done. We'll move on, and we'll go after George. All right, the only thing left is my calls for the week. I haven't put any of those in. So we'll see where we're at. We've already got everything for favors. We've already got everything unlocked on Fleming. And we're on to George. As much as George likes us, it's been really hard calling this kid. We don't seem to get anything out of him. I keep pitching location and getting no response, so maybe I'll try something else. Nope, see, there you go. He likes to hang up the phone. He's doesn't like the phone. Apparently I should try texting him. Huh? Could we do that? Oh yeah, that's against the rules for college basketball. Why? Why can't you text people? That would make much more sense. Alright, Reggie Moore. Here's that one who keeps rejecting. Oh, hey, there you go. See, we go live and he'll give us 5 minutes of his time. Alright, we have had him unlocked before, but he slipped back down. He was one of those who came to a visit and did not like what he saw, so he kind of dropped off. But we finally are getting a chance from him, and he gave us the time of day. So we have finally maybe a little bit of interest out of Reggie Moore. We'll see next week if that translates into anything. If it doesn't, we're probably done. I mean, look, we got all these very little interests in him that keep coming. So this is kind of last-ditch effort on Moore as well. Mark Ross, we've already got what we need from him on pitch categories. Jay Jones, he did give us the time of day last week, so we'll see. I'm not going to call him now, but we did get the response from him, but it still didn't translate it into anything. All right, Jefferson, we got a few categories still to unlock. Playing time. Okay, we got one more out of him. Emiker, we've only been able to call this kid two or three times, as we're usually kind of out of time by this point down the list. There we go, we finished him up. And just a little bit of time left, and Prestige on Dexter Brown, so we'll go ahead and check in and see if we can grab that last category, and we did, and we're out of time. Alright, so that does it for this week. Go ahead and continue with recruiting.
You have new mail.
And
you have
now
new
that
mail.
we have our first visits of the year, we'll see what happens. You can already see here, though, it looks like we got nowhere with Moore and Jones, but let's go ahead and check our emails first and see what the results were. It looks like scheduling's coming up next as we are approaching that part of the year. It's almost time to get those non-conference games started. All right, let's see the results of these four guys. Jay Jones, that's the big one we're looking at as we're about to withdraw that scholarship offer. And yeah, see, he's still... Thanks for coming to visit, but I just can't see myself playing for you. Nothing personal. So we're going to drop Jay Jones. We've done everything we can. That was our last-ditch effort, so he is out. Now, hopefully we get some positives out of these, because like I said, these campus visits, a lot of them have not gone over very well, so we're struggling this year. Mario Ross, this was our mediocre one. We were 6th on his list last week. He thought the visit went really well, so hopefully we'll move up at least into the top 3 from that. Now these two were looking good. These were both top 2s. Chris Fleming, that's going to hurt. He's going to drop down the list a bit. He did not like the visit. And Preston Favors, he thought it went really well. Well, at least 2 of them were favorable, but I certainly would have liked 3. I wasn't surprised at all about Jay Jones. All right, so back into recruiting. What can be done? So Jay Jones is out. And Moore, same thing. Even after getting a hold of him and that big old phone call, we still got nowhere. So I'm going to drop both of these guys. And it looks like we're still in a contact week, so we'll be able to especially go after George. He's a for sure contact for this week. And I might go after those 2 guys again, visit them a second time. So revoke scholarship and take off both lists. Jay Jones, point made. We're letting you go. So there's one, and Moore, Reggie Moore. Take you off both lists. Same thing, we've tried and tried, and you just are not interested in our school. All right, let's go ahead and run an update on that list. And our list is getting shorter, much shorter. So Fleming dropped from a +2 to just a +1 on interest after that not so favorable visit. Ross jumped a lot, and Favors, and George is still right there. So George is the other one that I want to offer scholarship to, so we're going to get that right away. We're also going to go for a visit, but I'm going to put a call in and see first before I decide what the pitch categories will be. I still have not unlocked location. There we go. All right, and it is a big factor, so location's going to be a big deal. So we might be pitching location when we go for a visit this week. All right, so we offer a scholarship, and instantly he is ready to talk. That is good. All right. Location, not quite as big as academics, though. So we might just pitch academics. Location's good. I mean, Woodburn is, 40 minutes south of Portland. It's close. So it is absolutely a good location, but it's not the highest thing to pitch. So I might just pitch academics. We have good academics at our school. Nice, cheap cost on the visit because of how close it is. So we're going to pitch academics this time. All right, well, there's one. I want to pitch probably these guys all again. Might as well, right? Focus on the ones that I can and or want to bring in. So, Favors. We pitched location last time, which is Grant High School right here in Portland, Oregon. So that was good. Hometown. Cheap to visit. So yeah, we'll visit him again. We're still second on his list. It'd be nice to bump up to number 1 or get a verbal commit from him. So let's pitch academics this time. Fleming, oh boy, we dropped all the way to 9th, even though we're in his home state. There's not much else to pitch with him besides maybe playing time, but playing time is going to be huge, so I guess let's try pitching playing time because pitching location did not work. So let's try that. And George we've already set up. And here's Ross. We're second on his list. And we pitched academics last time. And I might just have to stick with that because it went well. He liked that. We jumped from 6th to 2nd on his list. And location, again, we're not going to be able to do much with that. It's spendy. And I might just not. We've already pitched him. You know what? I'm gonna go visit somebody else. Who's next on our list? Travis Jefferson, but he's a point guard. I'm not worried about a point guard. Dexter Brown is the next highest rank, and he's an Oregon kid, and we're 3rd on his list. And location is important. He's a good passer, decent rebounder. Terrible defender though. He can shoot well, though not a great scorer, but he'll get his points when he can. He's okay from the free throw line, but I don't know about that kid. Cheap to visit though, so maybe we'll go visit him just in case. All right, so location. All right, so we'll get a visit in, even though he's not ranked very high. At this point, really looking at these 4 guys we have right now, it's pretty essential that we get after those 4 because they have good rankings and nobody else does. Nobody else does. Let me say that one more time. Nobody else has a good ranking. So getting these 4 kids is pretty important. Really important just because of the drop-off in quality. And they have the balance we need. 3 post players and 1 guard. GPA-wise, only 2 of these guys might be a concern, but they're junior college transfers, so it's not going to be an SAT score necessary. So we got both of these guys above 3.0, so we should be good academically coming from those guys. All right, moving on to scheduling. All right, here's our non-conference schedules for the year. I did add Portland State, being that we are based in Portland, this team. I did add Portland State as our non-conference rival. So we'll be getting a game against Portland State each year now. And it looks like we have a fair amount of home games in our non-conference schedule this year, which is good. That's a bonus. But I'm not going to change any of these games. Our schedule is what it is. All right. So we're going to go ahead and advance.
You have new mail. You have new mail.
And we've got a couple decisions, and one of them is good. One of them is not. One of them's good. Preston Favors. We've got a verbal commit, our first verbal commit of the year, and a very highly ranked kid at 227. Somebody, though, there's 2 of my decisions. Somebody said, screw you, I'm out. Who is it? All right, we'll start down here. Mario Ross, going to Portland. So UP, University of Portland, just picked up a recruit in Mario Ross. We had jumped all the way to 2nd on his list, but apparently it was too late. I would imagine UP was probably the one above us. So we lose Mario Ross. He's going to be going to University of Portland, the 3rd school here in the city of Portland, at least in this game. Though obviously our school doesn't actually exist. It's alright. We exist in the hearts and minds. Alright, Charles George. Visit went well. Preston Favors. Was happy that we came to see him. So happy that he decided to come to our school. Thanks, kid. We'll be happy to have you. All right. Chris Fleming. Oh, man. 2 weeks in a row, he's did not enjoy our visit. So I think he's going to be out. So it looks like we're going to have 2 guys more to go after. And Dexter Brown. All right. Well, that was good. He really enjoyed the visit. So, all right. Well, we got 1. We got some work to do. So it's late September. We're not yet into the season, but when we get to our next episode, we will be there at the beginning of the season. We are well over time for this episode. So we've picked up 1 recruit, 1 very nice, highly ranked recruit, though his stats aren't that great, but he's a B for scoring, and that is something that this team doesn't have a whole lot of. So he should provide a nice boost to our guards, but we are hurting when it comes to the post. I think we're going to be able to grab George. We're at the top of his list. He enjoyed the visit. We did finally offer him a scholarship, so I think he will sign with us, and probably before the start of this next episode. But Fleming, he's out. Ross, he's literally out. We actually dropped back down to 4th. He apparently didn't care for that visit too much, and he's going to go play at University of Portland instead of for the Olympic Decathlon rings. So I've got another scholarship to offer. Looks like I'm going to have to drop Fleming, so I'm going to have 2 more guys to go after. And I might look elsewhere also because we're just not looking so good in the rankings. So I might try to bring in some outside help to go after our next 2 positions. But it looks like we might have a shooting guard and a center coming to our school. We got to keep looking for more post players. All right, well, that does it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe, and tune in next time on my road to the record.